This webinar is organized in the following sections. We are going to see some chatbot key concepts as a background. We will explain the objective and scope of KRA chatbot pilot. We will overview a high-level design and architecture of the proposed KRA chatbot. We will review also a suggested roadmap to implement the chatbot. Let's see some chatbot background. What is a chatbot? A chatbot is a software that can engage in a conversation with a human via text or voice interaction, and is normally designed in enterprise environments for practical purposes like improved customer service, information provision, sales, among other uses. When properly configured and tested, it can interact with the users without direct human intervention, meaning it can be available at all times, 24/7, 365 days in a year. This can, of course, reduce costs and increase user satisfaction. And how do chatbots work? Chatbots use many technologies, going from simple menu-based interaction, like asking the user to select from different options, to most sophisticated ones that use natural language processing, or NLP, capabilities that analyze the sentence entered or said by the user, identify the intent or what the user wants to say, and the entities or what topic the user wants to talk about. And this identification allows to later be mapped to find proper answer in a knowledge database or ask another questions uh, to complete the analysis to understand what the user really wants to know. It can also include sentiment analysis, which is to try to identify the user affective state or sentiment. Well, there's a lot of questions related if chatbots just use artificial intelligence, also they learn by themselves. Well, this is a yes or no answer. Chatbots use machine learning technologies that can be configured to learn different ways to interpret a user intent based on similar ways to ask a question. These, for now, should be supervised by humans to find errors in this interpretation and provide corrections. This should be not confused with the ability from the chatbot of finding the correct answer. This, at least at this moment, should be properly configured by field experts. Well, do chatbots replace people from customer service? No. At this time, they should be considered as a complement to regular customer service tools and practices. They normally will fill the gap for all-time availability, answer the top most frequently asked questions that consume most of the time for a person-based customer service. This will mean the chatbot will focus on answer repetitive questions and be available 24/7. Let's talk about how we design the chatbot pilot for KRA. In the design or definition of the project, there were two main objectives to be achieved: to implement a cloud-based chatbot service for pilot or testing purposes, and to propose a high-level functionality and architectural design for a future chatbot service along with a staged roadmap for possible implementation. During the requirement analysis, the following actors and functionalities represented in these use case diagrams were identified. The chatbot user, that should be any person or organization that engage in the use of the KRA chatbot that might be asking for public or private information. Chatbot public end user is any person or organization that engage in the use of the KRA chatbot looking for answers to questions it may have. It will not require to have or use credentials to the online systems. Some of the questions may be how to apply for a tax exemption or how I want to validate a tax compliance certificate. There's also another type of user that will be a private end user. Any person or organization that engage in the use of KRA chatbot looking for answers to questions which answer can require to access restricted information. Some of these questions may be, can I get my current account balance? This, of course, will need some security addressing. Another actor is the customer service officer. That will be a KRA customer service officer or agent, which will handle chats from user when they specifically ask to engage in a conversation with a real person agent. There's also another one, actor, the customer service manager, that will be a KRA customer service executive that is in charge of supervising customer support operation that will in this time include the chatbot system operation. Of course, there will be the KRA management officer. That will be an officer that will require information about key performance indicators related to chatbot operation in relation to the overall customer relation management system for executive decisions. As an actor in this whole system, we also identify the existing KRA systems. For example, iTax and other KRA systems that might provide security and other operational services that can provide information that the chatbot might get in order to answer a chatbot question. Also, there is the KRA chatbot system that will be the one that should be implemented. This is the one that will provide the automated question and answer handling for end users, integrate with the existing KRA systems when required, and provide reports and statistics related to the use of the chat. In this diagram, we also can have the main required functionalities of the chatbot. Of course, there's a a need for a chatbot login that will allow public end users to access chatbot, the KRA system private chatbot access that will be put in place when the user wants to get information that is private. There's also a functionality required for identifying the user intent that we call user intent detection and response. This will allow end user to ask a question and receive the appropriate answer response or follow-up questions to complete intent identification for correct answer response. There's also a chatbot query knowledge database that will allow the chatbot once correctly identified user intent and parameters, to search for the answer in the chatbot officially knowledge database. There's also a component or a functionality that will allow to handle the conversation from the chatbot. This will allow the customer service officer or agent to handle a conversation initiated by the chatbot and redirected to him or her. There should be also a functionality to manage the chatbot knowledge database. This will allow a customer service officer to review and update the knowledge database if, for example, new or updated information is available. We know that the tax administration frequently update their normative, the procedures, and this should be accordingly updated in the chatbot. We also need some chatbot statistics that will allow the customer service manager officer to review the chatbot statistic of usage and intent detection. For integration with the KRA systems, we will need an API, that meaning an application program interface that will allow the chatbot system to query inside the KRA systems like iTax or the customs system for accessing protected information based on secure and API using proper credentials. And also there should be the possibility to allow the KRA management officer to view some key performance indicator from the chatbot in the context of the overall operation of customer service. Extracting a little bit from these functionalities required, we have here the user intent detection and response functionality, which in our opinion is the core component or core need of these functionalities. This functionality will try to properly understand what the user wants and try to find the proper response. This analysis will be conducted in two main categories. The chatbot intent to improve customer services normally attend two things: the frequently asked questions and the tax assistance. I will explain this in the next slide.